right, Cliff, it's big dog time. Time to bust the drivers out. We got the Ping G400 LST. It's just on the cutoff of a modern classic because it's only 5 years old, but it's one of those value type clubs. Corey Connors still had it in the bag for the last 5 years, one of the best drivers on tour. He seems to be doing pretty well with it. Another shout out to Bernhard Langer. He's still using it. What do you know about this one?
Well, I know that it has been a really, really popular club. Even with the advent of some of the more modern versions, there are a lot of players who will not get away with that, and they come to us looking for backups for the clubs they have currently.
Right.
So that's a good one right there.
I'm Andrew Tursky, head of tour content for GolfWRX.com. Before every PGA Tour event, I go out to talk to the players about what clubs they have in the bag and why. For the most part, they're playing either high-end custom clubs or the newest possible products. But not all the clubs are new or custom. Sometimes they're playing with used clubs that are actually available to you for a high value. They're about 5 to 10 years old, sometimes even older. I call these clubs the modern classic. All right, it's finally time to test out some of the big dogs. We're getting into the drivers now. Starting hot with the Ping G400 LST. Kind of a polarizing design because when you look down from address, you see the turbulators. Now, some people are not fans of turbulators. Once they look down at it, they're like, nope. To me, I actually think it frames the ball kind of nicely. It's obviously shocking when you first put it down, but you get over it after like a swing or two. And then with the Ping G400, they also had the Dragonfly technology, which it kind of just lightens up the crown, frees up some weight where they can drive that weight lower. And then they have a tungsten weight down here. So there's a regular Ping G400, and then there's an LST where this weight is a little bit closer to the head. It just helps drive that flight down, and it keeps that spin down as well. And then the LST model is known as like the more fade bias model. So if you're like me and you have problems hooking the ball or overdrawing it, as I like to say, the LST is definitely your model to go to. And that's what I found when I tested this club. It was actually hanging right, whereas I thought it was going to turn over a little bit more. Like when you're thinking about older clubs, even if they're fade bias, you still think, all right, I'm not really going to get the fade bias that I'm looking for out of a modern driver. Not really the case. I wasn't turning this over very much at all. It was hanging right, and my miss definitely is a hook. It was just launching a little bit higher and spinning a little bit more than I like to see. It was around 3,000 RPM, I believe. So I was losing a little bit of distance compared to what's optimal, but I know that I'm not every golfer in the world. So if you're value hunting and you need a little bit higher launch, this definitely holds up. It's really fast, it's extremely forgiving. This is one of the highest MOI drivers for sure that we're testing in this series. And just in general, the Ping G400, if you're a gearhead, you probably know, you've probably tested it. It's just extremely forgiving. The only knock on it that I have is that it launches a little high, spins a little too much. Now, Corey Connors, for the last 4 or 5 years, he's been ranked top 8 in strokes gained off the tee. He's been using the G400 LST. So you can get this club right now from Second Swing for $339. Now, it's an older driver, so that value might shock you. It's like, wow, I thought it was gonna be 150, 100 bucks. It's just still a really good driver. All right, G400 LST, one of the classic Ping drivers from the last 5 years. Released 2017. How did it hold up against modern? I know it's only 5 years old, but we're value hunting right now.
Well, that is a driver that you see in a lot of bags to this day, which is impressive. And the reasons would be, you take a look at these shots, and the consistency of the speeds from shot to shot is unbeatable right here. The launches, when you see a 16.4, a 16.2, a 16.4, and a 16.3, with just one outlier out of those shots. You know, if you're working with a tour player and you see 1 degree in between, you're thrilled, and this is less than that, so very consistent. And the same thing with the spin rates. This may be a little higher than people would want to see, given that launch angle, but boy, they are right on the money. And that club is adjustable, so if we wanted to take loft off and reduce those launch angles and spin rates, that could be done. So I think very consistent, really nice.
I like the numbers on the side spin, where everything was kind of staying out to the right. As a overdrawer myself that suffers from the hook, this kind of eliminated the left side for me. Had nice speed. To me, I get a little scared when the spin goes over 3,000, just because I don't love seeing it super high up in the air. It feels a little floaty to me.
Yes.
I start feeling like I'm losing control, even though it's so consistent.
And again, we had this set at 9.5. It could go down to 8.5, down to 8 without any problem, and then we'd take care of those numbers. But the consistency is excellent.
That is what we would probably do if we're in a fitting session trying to really dial in. You know, for this series, we're obviously testing apples to apples, but we would probably crank it down, get those spin numbers down. Speed would probably go up over 170 and it'd be in the bag.
Absolutely.
Definitely a classic.
Easily.
A modern classic. So, when it came to the rating, I had to knock points off for the price. Performance is still great. Forgiveness is beautiful, as expected. For me personally, this wouldn't be the driver that I get fit into just because launch and spin, but I know the general market, most golfers need a little bit more launch, a little bit more spin, and the fact it's so forgiving at half the price of what's on the modern market, I went with 8.7. Definitely enjoyable to hit, definitely fast and forgiving. It's the least classic-y of the modern classics, but 8.7. All right, Cliff, it's Kisner time. Callaway Great Big Bertha.